So welcome to the third part of today's lecture. In this part, we will discuss the concept of impairment of value and we will solve one problem. Okay, so the impairment of value. So what is the impairment of value? We know that when we are purchasing an asset, we assume that we will be using the asset for a certain period of time and there will be no problem in using it. Okay, but think about an asset that you have purchased with $1,000 and the useful life is say it is 10 years. Okay, so what we are doing, we are allocating this $1,000 over the useful life in over 10 years. So $100 is, and we are assuming that the asset will be providing us the economic benefits evenly throughout the 10 years. Okay, but it may not happen always. Okay, there might be some significant reduction in the anticipated total benefits or the service potential of the assets. Think about a building. Okay, think about a building that you have purchased say 5 years before. Okay, what we are assuming, we are assuming that this building will be lasting for say 100 years or 50 years, correct? But what if there are some natural disasters, flood, earthquake, okay, and the building has been damaged? Okay, in that case the useful life will be less, correct? And the future value, meaning the fair value, future value would be less than the book value of the asset. Okay, so this is actually the impairment of an asset. Okay, so see that building destroyed by fire before the asset is fully depreciated. So this is an example, and here is an example that Murphy Oil Corporation recorded impairment charges of 95 million in 2016 because of the uh, oil and gas price, lower oil and gas price. And a write down can provide important information about the future cash flows that a company can generate from using the asset. And for assets to be held and used, different guidelines are applied to property, plant, and equipment and intangible assets. So the property, plant, and equipment and intangible assets with a finite useful life, they are subject to depreciation, amortization, or depletion. But intangible assets with indefinite lives, they are not subject to amortization. Okay, so when to test for the impairment, see that the tested for an asset is tested for the impairments only if the events or changes in circumstances indicate that the book value of an asset or group may not be recoverable. Okay, and here are some examples of the circumstances that may have impact on the value of an asset. Say, for example, a significant decrease in market price. Another example, say, significant adverse change in legal factors or in business climate. Or say, for example, a current period loss combined with a history of losses or the projection of continuing losses associated with the asset. Okay, and now there is a question that how do we calculate the impairment loss? I mean, how do we record? Okay, so there are two-step method. The step one, we need to calculate where, meaning we need to identify whether an asset is impaired or not. Okay, so in step one, we will be testing whether an asset is impaired. So how to do that? An impairment will happen when the undiscounted sum of estimated future cash flows is less than the book value of the asset. And in step 2, If in step 1 we record an impairment loss, we need to prepare the journal entries, okay? And if not impaired, then no impairment loss is recorded. So measurement, how do we measure? If an impairment loss is recognized, the written down book value becomes the new cost base for future cost allocation. And the fair value, the amount at which asset could be bought or sold in a current transaction between winning parties. Okay, if fair value is not determinable, it must be estimated. Okay, so in most of the cases, estimation is done. The fair value often is estimated as discounted present value of future cash flows. Okay, and undiscounted estimates of cash flows are used to determine whether an impairment loss has occurred, and discounted estimates of cash flows often are used to estimate fair value to determine the amount of the loss. And here is an example. Say, the company operates several factories that manufacture medical equipment. Okay, near the end of the company's 2021 fiscal year, a change in business climate related to the competitors' innovative products indicated to management that 170 million book value original cost was 300 million, and after subtracting the 130 million depreciation, accumulated depreciation, this is the book value of the asset of one of Dakota's factory may not be recoverable. See that? And management is able to identify cash flows from this factory and estimates that future cash flows over the remaining useful life of the factory will be 150 million. The fair value of the company's assets is not readily available but is estimated to be 135,000. So the first step is recoverability test. The book value is 170, whereas the 150 million is the undiscounted future cash flows. So what happened here? See, book value is greater than the undiscounted future cash flows, so impairment loss indicated. So we need to record that. So what is the impairment loss? Total 35,000. How do you get that? So the fair value is 135 and book value is 170. So impairment loss is 35. And the journal entry to record this loss on impairment, debit, accumulated depreciation, debit, and factory assets. Credit. See that? This is how we record. So, and now let's solve one problem. Okay, so here is one problem. Let's solve this one. So the company operates several restaurants throughout the Midwest. Three of its restaurants, located in the center of large urban area, have experimented decline profits due to declining population. The company's management has decided to test the assets of the restaurants for possible impairment. The relevant information for these assets is presented below. The book value is 6.5 million, and estimated undiscounted sum of future cash flows is 4 million. Okay, and the fair value is 3.5 million. Okay, and they're asking determine the amount of the impairment loss, if any. Okay, how do you do that? So if we want to do that, so step 1, recoverability test. Okay, how do you do that? We have, say, book value of 6.5 million book value, and fair value is 3.5 million. So what we can see, let's see, this is a book value and this is fair value. Since book value is greater than fair value, okay, so what you can see, asset as impairment loss. Okay, this is step 1. And in step 2, what we need to do, we need to calculate the, so we need to measurement of impairment loss. Okay, so I can copy this one. So the impairment loss is equal to 3.00 million, correct? Okay, so how do we record this one? Okay, this is our requirement one. Okay, this is the impairment loss, and for this one, it is saying that the sum of future cash flow is 6.8 million and the fair value is 5 million. So what we can do, sum of, sorry, let me have a larger form. So sum of future sum of, actually it should be undiscounted, okay, future cash flows, which is 6.8 million. 6.8 million is more than the book value of assets. Therefore, there is no impairment loss. Okay, this is the answer. Okay, thank you so much.